I think so many people are watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. People are talking about women's basketball that you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Can you name a player who's gone from hero to zero faster than Angel Reese? She was the talk of the town after taunting Caitlin Clark in the NCAA Championship. Now, she's struggling to stay relevant. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Back to the video. Reese just leaked her own speaking fee, trying to match Clark's 100K out.
At what point were you waiting to pull out this? Kind of the Caitlin Clark?
Caitlin Clark is a hell of a
Incredible.
player for sure. But I don't take disrespect lightly, and she disrespected Alexis. I wanted to pick her pocket, but I had a moment at the end of the game, and that was just, I was in my bag. I was in my moment, yeah.
But fans aren't having it. They're calling her out for jealousy and desperation. So here's the challenge. Can you think of a way for Reese to turn this around? Because right now, it's not looking good. You know what's crazy? Caitlin Clark wasn't even supposed to be this good this fast. Everyone thought she'd be great, sure, but what she's doing right now, it's next level. Let's talk about her college days for a second. Remember when she was just crushing it at Iowa? Clark was dropping buckets left and right, making passes that had everyone's jaws on the floor. She was the heart and soul of that team, leading them all the way to the NCAA Championship game. But here's the thing. Some people thought her game wouldn't translate to the pros. They said she was too small, too flashy, not tough enough for the WNBA. Boy, were they wrong. Clark stepped into the league and started breaking records like they were nothing. Points, assists, you name it. She's doing it all. And get this, the fans are going absolutely nuts. Arenas are packed every time Clark steps on the court. It's like everyone wants a piece of the action. Jerseys with her name on the back, they're flying off the shelves faster than they can make them. It's insane how quickly she's become the face of the league.
She's the first rookie to win WNBA Player of the Month since the award's inception in 2010, and last night it was no exception. They were sky high for Caitlin Clark and the Fever, but to start the season, they had a little bit of a rough go of it. They lost their first 5 games. They ended up 1-8 through their first 9 games. And during that first month, the playoffs, they didn't feel realistic at all. Indy entered the Olympic break 11-15 on the year, and then they really turned it around. They've won 7 of their 8 since. They clinched a playoff berth for the first time since 2016, which, by the way, was the last year of Hall of Famer and franchise icon Tamika Catching.
But it's not just about the stats. Clark's got this swagger on the court that's infectious. When she's feeling it, you can see it in her eyes. She'll pull up from halfway to Mars and drain a 3, then give this little smirk like it's no big deal. And her teammates feed off that energy. It's like they all play better when Clark's in the zone. You want to know what's really wild? Clark's rookie season isn't just good, it's historically great. We're talking about changing the game here. She's not just living up to the hype, she's blowing past it at 100 miles an hour. Every time you think you've seen it all, Clark does something that makes you shake your head in disbelief. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what about the other rookies? Well, that's where things get interesting, because as amazing as Clark's been, she's not the only one making waves. Everyone's talking about this Clark versus Reese rivalry like it's the next big thing in sports. But here's the deal. What if I told you it's not what you think? The real story behind their matchups might shock you, and it's got nothing to do with what happens on the court. Let's rewind to that crazy NCAA Championship game. Remember the trash talk, the taunting? It was wild. Reese was all up in Clark's face, and everyone thought this was the start of an epic rivalry.
WNBA Player of the Week. There have only been 40 triple-doubles in the history of the WNBA. Cheryl Swoops recorded the first WNBA triple-double during the 1999 season, while Caitlin Clark logged the most recent triple-double earlier this week. She now has 102 on the season and is 19 away from Diana Taurasi in second place and 26 away from UNESCO of the New York Liberty. She ain't beating Angel Wilson for the MVP, but she's beating Angel Reese for the Rookie of the Year. That's a wrap. That's over. And props to Angel Reese, who's had a good year, by the way.
Fast forward to now, and they're both in the WNBA. The media's trying to make it this huge deal, but something doesn't add up. Here's the weird part, Clark and Reese. They're saying there's no beef between them. I know, right? After all that drama, you'd think they'd be at each other's throats. But Reese actually came out and said, "I don't think people realize it's not personal. It's just a super competitive game." That's not what you'd expect from a bitter rival, is it? So I looked into their head-to-head matchups this season. You won't believe this, but Clark's been crushing it. In one game, she dropped 23 points and her team won 91-83. Reese, she couldn't keep up. It's like Clark's playing on a whole different level. But here's where it gets interesting. After one game, Reese whispered to Clark, "Continue to be a great player." That doesn't sound like two people who hate each other, does it?
Caitlin Clark became the first ever rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double twice in the same season. In that game, Clark scored her 103-point shot this season, becoming just the 6th woman. My WNBA Player of the Week, surprise, surprise, Indiana Fever rookie sensation, Caitlin Clark. There's nothing really to say other than that. She's winning Rookie of the Year. She's a top candidate for league MVP honors.
It's more like respect between competitors. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still drama, but it's mostly off the court. You've got the speaking fees, the social media stuff, all that noise. Reese even leaked her own fee, trying to match Clark's 100K. And the fans? They're going crazy over every little thing. Skip Bayless stirred the pot, saying Reese's comments reek a little bit of jealousy and bitterness. But is that really what's going on? Or is it just the pressure of trying to keep up with Clark's insane success? Here's what's really wild. While everyone's focused on this so-called rivalry, something bigger is happening in women's basketball. Clark's changing the game, breaking records left and right. Reese is trying to find her footing. And caught in the middle, two young players just trying to ball out and make their mark. So next time you hear about the Clark-Reese rivalry, remember, it's way more complicated than you think. And while everyone's busy arguing about who said what, they might just miss the real story unfolding right in front of them.
She has lived up to expectations, right? I'm looking at her the way I look at LeBron James, right? For us, just in the women's side of things, and the height that she had, the expectations she had.
Let's start with the rookie, Caitlin Clark-Kent. Superwoman, you see what I did there? She was on a tear, and last night was no different. Wings, fever. Caitlin Clark set to go as she broke the single-season assist record.
She's been playing like a top 5 player in the league. She's been regularly dishing out double-digit assists in that time frame. Teams can no longer blitz her and trap her.
Let's talk about what Caitlin Clark's doing to women's basketball. She's not just playing the game, she's changing it. Every time she steps on the court, it's like we're seeing a whole new level of what's possible. And you know what? The WNBA is taking notice. Think about this, the league's looking at some big changes. We're talking higher salaries, more primetime games, maybe even new teams. It's like Clark lit a fire under the whole sport. Fans are showing up in droves, ratings are through the roof, and sponsors are lining up to get a piece of the action. But here's the thing, this is just the beginning. We're watching history unfold right in front of us. Clark's not just a great player, she's a game changer. And the way things are going, the future of women's basketball is looking brighter than ever. So keep your eyes on the court because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.